You wake up, check your mail, and see another property tax bill. Your kid calls about their homeowners association fees, the utility bills just went up again, and you're thinking, when did life get this complicated? What if I told you there are entire states in America right now offering remote workers $10,000 or more just to move there, and you don't have to take a new job, you just keep your remote job from anywhere? If you're retired or semi-retired, tired of the same old cost of living curve, fed up with bureaucrats and zoning boards and the endless climb of housing and taxes, stay with me. Big cities dominate the headlines with housing costs through the roof, regulations stacked up, small yard, if you're lucky, and full of rules. Meanwhile, many smaller states are quietly saying, "Hey, remote worker, come here and we'll pay you." For someone near retirement, fixed income, wanting more freedom and less overhead, this could be a real lever. And hey, smash that like button if you're tired of getting played by your zip code. We'll keep it straight talk, no fluff, no hype. Imagine packing up your laptop, dropping into a 1-hour commute to the lake instead of traffic, and getting $10,000 just for making the move. That's what Tulsa is doing. Yep, the city whose past was oil and gas now says, "Remote worker, we'll pay you to come here." And before you roll your eyes thinking this is some too-good-to-be-true scheme cooked up by City Hall bureaucrats trying to justify their jobs, hear me out because this one actually works. The program called Tulsa Remote offers a $10,000 grant to eligible remote workers who relocate to Tulsa and live and work there for at least a year. But here's what makes it different from the usual government nonsense. You're not jumping through hoops for some tiny tax credit that disappears faster than your patience at the DMV. This is real money, and the cost of living compared to big cities means housing, utilities, land, everything is cheaper. Plus, you get membership in a co-working space, a community of remote workers, and a support network that actually helps instead of creating more red tape. Now let's talk practical reality because nobody's got time for fairy tales. You must be 18 or older, authorized to work in the United States, currently working full-time remotely for an employer outside Oklahoma, or be self-employed outside the state, and you must have lived outside Oklahoma for at least a year. Once you're approved, you got 12 months to make the move. Then, once you've signed a qualifying lease or bought a home in Tulsa, you become eligible to receive payments. If you're renting, you get monthly disbursements. If you're buying, you can get a lump sum after purchase and meeting the home ownership condition. But let's be honest about the challenges, because every deal has trade-offs. You still need to plug into Tulsa, which means new community and fewer big city amenities. If you like the big city hustle, you'll miss it. The grant is tied to meeting the terms, so if you bail early, you may forfeit the money. Housing is cheaper, but if you choose to buy, you'll still need down payment and financing, so the $10,000 is a sweetener, not full relocation cost. While you'll save on cost of living, you're still subject to Oklahoma taxes, though state income tax is moderate, and you'll need to consider moving costs and lifestyle adjustments. Here's the emotional payoff, though. For someone frustrated with coastal city bills or restrictive homeowners associations, this feels like someone handing you a bonus for stepping out of the rat race. You get to say, "I opted out of high cost," and you pick a place where your dollar goes further. Bonus, joining a community of like-minded remote folks, less downtime commuting, more breathing space. All right, that's Tulsa. If you want more wilderness, fewer regulations, and a mountain backdrop rather than the flat plains of Oklahoma, next up is a program that really leans into the great outdoors. If you've ever looked at mountains and thought, "I wish I could swap the bureaucracy for a river view and fresh air," West Virginia might just be the ticket. The state says, "Remote worker, bring your laptop to almost heaven, and we'll pay you $12,000 plus free outdoor fun." And unlike most government programs that promise the moon but deliver a rock, this one actually comes through with cold, hard cash and perks that don't require you to fill out forms in triplicate. The program called Ascend West Virginia offers $12,000 cash to relocate remote workers to select communities across the state. But here's where it gets interesting. They're not just handing you money and saying good luck figuring it out like some federal program run by people who've never lived outside the Beltway. You also get free outdoor recreation experiences, gear rentals, and co-working space access. The cost of living is very low relative to many United States states, so your housing, taxes, and land costs shrink while your quality of life expands. It's like someone finally figured out that people want value, not just bureaucratic overhead. Let's get into the nuts and bolts, because details matter when you're making a life change. You must be a remote worker or self-employed currently living outside West Virginia, working for an employer or clients outside the state. The $12,000 gets distributed in equal monthly payments over 2 years, though they'll accelerate it if you purchase a home during the program. The selected regions include areas like Morgantown, Greenbrier Valley, Eastern Panhandle, and New River Gorge. These aren't just random spots some committee picked while looking at a map. They're actual communities with infrastructure and amenities. Now for the reality check, because every silver lining has a cloud that some bureaucrat probably taxed. Moving to a more rural and mountainous state means trade-offs. Fewer big city amenities, longer drives to major airports or specialized medical services. Infrastructure like internet bandwidth and transport might vary depending on region, so check carefully before you pack up. The $12,000 is spread out monthly unless you meet the home purchase trigger, so budget accordingly. You'll need to evaluate state tax implications and cost of living. While cheaper, incomes may stretch differently than you expect. But here's the emotional payoff that makes it all worthwhile. You're handing the bureaucrats a metaphorical middle finger by choosing freedom, nature, and low-pressure living over their endless regulations and fee schemes. The bonus helps you literally take the cost of living bite out of your retirement or semi-retirement, but you also get that opt-out feeling that's worth more than money. Plus, there's the daily option to kayak instead of fight traffic, which beats road rage any day of the week. So 2 states down. Next up, a place that doesn't ask for $12,000, but still gives you serious value with cash, tax waiver perks, and the chance to get into one of America's most affordable, livable locales. Meet Kentucky. You don't always need a massive $12,000 check to make a lifestyle change. Sometimes moderate incentives plus smart savings create big impact. In Paducah, Kentucky, you can score about $5,000 to $6,500 in incentives and slash your payroll tax for a year. That adds up, and unlike the politicians who promise everything and deliver nothing, this program actually puts money back in your pocket while you escape the high-cost madness. The city's Remote Workers Incentive Program offers up to $6,500 for remote workers relocating to their corner of Kentucky. But here's what makes this different from the usual government cheese. The package includes cash reimbursements, an internet stipend, plus a 1-year waiver of their 2% payroll tax. Paducah has low median home prices, sitting around $170,000 in the region, making the whole move more feasible than trying to buy anything decent in the overpriced metros where bureaucrats have regulated housing into the stratosphere. Let's break down how this actually works, because the devil's always in the details, especially when government programs are involved. You must be a remote worker living outside Kentucky, working full-time remotely for an employer outside the state, or have a similar self-employed arrangement. The specifics include up to $2,500 in relocation expense reimbursements, $70 per month internet for 12 months, payroll, tax waiver, valued at about 2% of your salary for 1 year, plus cultural and amenity perks worth roughly $1,150. You must move and make the city your primary residence within the required time frame, which is usually within several months, and reside there at least a year. Now for the reality sandwich, because no deal is perfect and anyone telling you otherwise is probably selling something. $5,000 to $6,500 is less dramatic than $10,000 or more, but it's still meaningful if you're realistic about expectations. Paducah is a smaller river-based city, so if you're used to big city culture, you might feel limited. The payroll tax waiver helps, but you'll still face other taxes like state income tax and local property tax, and you must verify your remote employer's eligibility. As always, check internet connection, local services, and whether your remote work arrangement is stable before you pack up and move. But here's the emotional payoff that makes it worthwhile. Even if you're not chasing 6-figure bonuses, you're still earning freedom through less tax, lower cost, and simpler life. For someone near retirement, stretching your dollars by thousands without giving up your job is a genuine win. Plus, you get to say you live in a UNESCO creative city while paying far less than the typical metro areas where half your income disappears into someone else's pocket. Good, right? 3 down. Now we pivot to the other type of opportunity where you combine remote worker incentives with smart platforms that cover select counties, meaning you have more choice and more freedom. Let's dig into number 4. Okay, Rebels. Maybe you don't want to lock into a single state program. Maybe you want to pick the county that gives you the best deal, and that's where the platforms come in. Programs via platforms like Make My Move let you tap into select counties offering cash plus perks, sometimes $5,000 or more, without jumping through some of the statewide hoops that make you feel like you're applying for a government security clearance just to move somewhere cheaper. According to Make My Move, relocation incentive programs across multiple states offer cash and perks, typically ranging from $5,000 to $20,000. Some cities offer $5,000 cash for remote workers who move in and live there for a year. This is flexible, which means you can zero in on a county with ultra-low cost of living, fewer regulations, keep working remotely, and pick up the bonus. It's like shopping for freedom instead of just taking whatever some state bureaucrat decided was good for you. Here's how the practical reality works, because these platforms aren't magic wands that make all your problems disappear. You'll need to research which counties participate, what qualifies as remote worker in that specific program, and verify requirements like income minimums, relocation timeframes, and full-time remote job outside the state or county. The bonus might be $5,000, sometimes larger, but it comes with strings attached. You commit to live there for 12 months, keep your remote job, establish residency, and prove you're not just gaming the system for quick cash. You'll still evaluate cost of living, housing market, tax climate, utilities, and local regulations, just like any relocation decision. Now for the challenges, because every opportunity has trade-offs, and anyone pretending otherwise is probably trying to sell you something. Smaller programs mean fewer dollars and perhaps fewer supports compared to larger state programs. You might not get the robust community or co-working infrastructure that places like Tulsa offer. You need to ensure your job remains remote and allowable under the program, because if your employer changes policy, you might lose eligibility faster than a politician changes positions during election season. Local services, amenities, and infrastructure may be more limited in low-regulation counties, which could be a feature or a bug depending on what you want. But here's the emotional payoff that makes this approach attractive. This feels like you're playing the freedom arbitrage game. You keep your remote work, pick a low-cost place, and let someone else give you a bonus for doing what makes financial sense anyway. You're making a savvy move rather than just conforming to one of the big markets where your money disappears into other people's pockets. It gives you options, and that optionality is powerful for the 50 to 80 crowd who don't want to overcommit but still want freedom from the system that's been squeezing them for decades. So there, you have 5 powerful options. But before we wrap up, let's zoom out and show how you stack these moves together so that you maximize benefit and understand the final piece of the puzzle. We've walked through 5 practical paths: Tulsa, West Virginia, Paducah, Kentucky, the platform-based county options, and the overall trend. Each of these shows you don't have to accept the high-cost, high-regulation life if you've got a remote job flowing. The big idea is geographic arbitrage. You take your remote income or draw on your retirement and semi-retirement income, move to a place where the cost of living, taxes, land, and regulation are far less, and you get paid or get bonuses to do it. Your desire to escape the system is totally valid. The frustration with rising cost, red tape, and loss of independence means you're not alone and you're not stuck. Pick one program that speaks to you. Go to the website, check eligibility. Do your math. Relocation cost plus bonus plus savings in living cost plus tax and regulation advantage. Then map out your 12-month plan. Keep your remote job and verify it qualifies. Set budget for the move. Check housing, internet, local regulations, and insurance. Finally, lean in and claim it. Don't let it sit in your maybe someday folder while the bureaucrats keep raising your bills. In our next video, we'll dig into how to stack land ownership plus homesteading freedom once you relocate, land cost breakdowns, tiny house strategies, freeing yourself from utilities and homeowners associations. Don't miss that because it may be the second stage of your escape plan. Because here's the truth. You didn't come this far to hand your freedom over to a zip code and a tax bill. Pack up the laptop. Your next chapter's waiting somewhere cheaper, freer, and better built for you.